Thanks for staying with us. Time now for major stories. A curfew has been imposed in sections of Mountain View in Kingston 3. The curfew began at 6 a.m. today, January 11, and will remain in effect until 6 a.m. on Monday, January 13. The boundaries of the curfew are as follows. North along Bonneview Avenue from Mountain View Primary School to Hampstead Avenue. East along Hampstead Avenue from Bonneview Avenue to Langston Road. South along Langston Road from Hampstead Avenue to Deanry Road. And west along Deanry Road from Langston Road to Mountain View Primary School at Bonneview Avenue. During the hours of the curfew, all persons within the boundaries are required to remain within their premises unless authorized in writing by the ground commander. A family of 12 is now homeless after a fire completely destroyed their dwelling yesterday on Johns Road in Almontown, central Kingston. The fire ravaged everything in its path, leaving the family devastated but nevertheless grateful as no lives were lost. Robian Williams provides more detail in this report.
I wake up by 4 o'clock, I hear somebody calling fire, and said time I shook out of the room, and when I come to the doorway, I reach back in, so all I have in the house, I just a pincer. The only thing I'm on reach back is a baby bag. So I hold the bag, shook out back, was going back inside the house, I couldn't go back in there. So I come outside and everybody started screaming and bawl.
Ferlin Watson, one of the fire victims, recounting her ordeal when asked about the losses.
Everything.
Mayor of the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation, Delroy Williams, and the People's National Party caretaker for the Central Kingston constituency were quick on the scene, pledging their support.
Cleaning up activity is taking place, and we are trying to see what we can do to assist the persons who live here and the families who live here.
The engineers have looked at the place to see how it is that we can rebuild as quickly as possible and as safely as possible, because we want persons to get back home. And the good thing is we've called all the schools that the children who live here attend, and every school from Almontown Primary to Almontown Basic, are willing, to Kankathy, are giving uniforms to the children so they can get back to school on Monday.
The cause of the fire and the estimate of the damage has not yet been ascertained. Robian Williams for CVM Live.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness is charging into the new year with dengue as its target, focusing on controlling the ability of the Aedes aegypti mosquito to breed and expand on the island. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton made the disclosure at a recent town hall meeting in Portland, while noting that dengue remains a real challenge to Jamaica. Khadija Thomas tells us more in this report.
One female Aedes aegypti mosquito is able to produce hundreds of eggs every 3 to 5 days out of its 30-day life. The female mosquito will then lay the eggs over several sites, making the risk of dengue transmission high for humans. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton is again making the call for citizens to take the necessary precautions to prevent the spreading of the disease.
Dengue over the past year and a half has been one of the worst it has been ever in the world, not in Jamaica alone. Indeed, in this region, in the Americas, it is said that dengue has been the most deadly.
The health minister goes further to note that climate change, along with global warming, has resulted in a change in the breeding pattern of the Aedes aegypti mosquito.
We have a problem that is not going to go away, and we have to prepare ourselves for it. And I further make the point to say to you that dengue is very preventable, highly preventable. The real cause of the threat is us and how we live and exist within our environment.
Adding to this, Tufton says although the challenge of handling dengue is global, citizens can play their part in prevention of the mosquito-borne disease.
So if we know that the real cause of dengue is the mosquito, and we know that the mosquito loves clean water to breed, and we set water because we need it for domestic purposes, it's important for us that we do something about trying to protect the water from the mosquito. And there are some very simple, basic things that you can do. As simple as covering the drum. As simple as treating the water.
Khadija Thomas, CVM Live.
The Prime Minister says his government has all the tools to bring crime and violence under control in 2020. But he says the strategies will only work if citizens share information on criminals with crime-fighting agencies. Here's Christine Forbes with that report.
In 2019, the country recorded a total of 1,326 reported murders, despite 2 zones of special operations and 6 states of public emergency. Prime Minister Holness says for 2020, his government will be increasing its efforts to dismantle criminality in the country.
We are going to put more police cars on the road. We are training more policemen. We are bringing in more intelligence equipment and strategies. We are training more detectives. We are increasing the size of the JDF so that they can support the police more. We are doing everything possible to build out our national security apparatus.
He urges citizens not to create support systems for criminals, but instead share what they know with crime-fighting bodies. He says without the public's assistance, the efforts of the government will be crippled.
If you don't want to share information with your local police, you can share information with Crime Stop. You can share information with MOCA. And you can share information with the Army.
The Prime Minister says the country can utilize its faith and religion to solve national issues. He therefore urges members of the clergy to encourage church members to share information on criminals through digital platforms or anonymously.
In the coming months, you will be seeing rolled out elements of the plan.
Christine Forbes, CVM Live.
The government has started the process of developing Port Royal as the new cruise ship port, with the first vessel expected to dock on January 20. This was disclosed earlier this week at a multi-agency meeting at the Office of the Prime Minister. Robian Williams has the details in this report.
Port Royal development plans are on track. According to Prime Minister Andrew Holness, the historic town is a national asset that must be developed carefully. Holness adds that a decision had to be made as assets that are left unused by the government are used by someone else or they deteriorate.
Port Royal is an environmental asset, it is a historical asset, it's a cultural asset, but it is also an economic asset. Can we realize the value, the environmental value, the economic value, the historical value, the cultural value, without destroying the asset? I think we have the capacity to do that. I think we can truly realize the value in Port Royal, preserve it for generations to come, but also to build wealth from it for generations to come.
Holness asserts that the people will be at the center of the development as the government aims to maintain order in Port Royal.
We recognize that there is an economy there, and those who carry the economy and who are critical to it in this new dispensation of its economic development, they must be included and see the benefit of it. We also recognize that Port Royal has been traditionally a very peaceful place, and we would not want the economic development that is to come to in any way change the nature and character of peaceful Port Royal.
Holness says security measures will be implemented to ensure a safe environment.
It is not going to be a place for hustlers and touts and people to come to harass. It has to be a place of order.
He adds that the government is not creating an exclusive zone for tourists, as Jamaicans will also have the opportunity to enjoy the experience. The first vessel is expected to dock on January 20. Robian Williams for CVM Live.
The state of the roads in a section of Port Antonio, Portland has compromised the efficiency of fire units being able to connect to residents, becoming a cause for major concern. According to the councillor for the area, promises were made to have the problem addressed, but it's yet to be rectified. Khadija Thomas tells us more.
A section of the roadway in the town of Port Antonio, an area often used by the fire brigade, is urgently in need of fixing. Residents say the issue happened over time and appears to have worsened, resulting in delays from the fire brigade to respond to emergencies. Councillor for the Port Antonio Division, Dexter Roland, says representatives have been calling for it to be fixed.
I have made contact with the National Works Agency. Was promised more than once to have the matter addressed. The last discussion I had with the parish manager was about 3 weeks ago. But it has since died.
The councillor says they are now awaiting the intervention of the National Works Agency. However, there are other linked issues to address. Along with the road, there's a problem with where motorists are parking along this stretch, making it difficult for the fire brigade to move about.
What we brought to my attention, so I'm going to have a discussion with the superintendent of Road and Works and the secretary manager, the CEO, to have this matter addressed. This is a matter that I think will be addressed quickly before the weekend.
CVM Live reached out to the Port Antonio Fire Brigade to get their views on the road issue. However, we were advised that the communication team will provide feedback once available. Khadija Thomas, CVM Live.
Millions of dollars are being spent in Portland geared towards local housing development and infirmary renovation. That's according to the Minister of Local Government and Community Development, Desmond McKenzie, who was speaking at the groundbreaking for indigent housing in the parish. Khadija Thomas reports.
Overjoyed. One of the beneficiaries of local housing in Portland expresses her happiness at the groundbreaking ceremony held recently. It is part of the government's indigent housing program under the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development.
The poor don't know any politics. Hunger don't know politics. When you're living without a roof over your head, it don't know politics. Our responsibility is to provide the basic needs for the people who are in need.
Under the indigent housing program, the government aims to improve the living conditions of many Jamaicans, particularly those in dire need of assistance, by providing them with housing solutions free of cost.
We are spending some very good money in Portland. Over 40 million is being spent down at the infirmary to build a brand new ward which will be open shortly.
Khadija Thomas, CVM Live.
We're taking a quick break here on CVM Live. Next, we have news from overseas.